Okay, so can we call the meeting to order?
Who's the chair? Is it you, Jennifer?
That's me. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want to do roll call, or is our list here on the Zoom thing sufficient?
I think I should call roll
Okay.
call. And it doesn't list student trustee Pablo. Okay, so trustee Segura. I'm not sure she has her audio.
Yeah, it's we got the little wiggly worm thing going on.
Got it, yeah.
I would say, let me see if I'm muted or not. Am I?
You're not.
Or no?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I would say because of the participant list, if I click on it, then Rosa has checked in. So I would say that you have a roll call and quorum.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to adopt the agenda by consensus, if that's okay, unless anybody has any additions that they want to add.
No, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I just added that.
No worries.
I
Okay. And as far as public comment, I'm assuming we don't have any, but how is
I
that
received
being
none.
handled? Do we even have the ability to do public comment right now?
Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah, so we on the agenda, on the meeting description, we include a request to email public comment in, and it should be received by noon of the day of the meeting. So I did not receive public comment for this meeting.
Okay, and okay, perfect. All right, then. Then since we have no public comment, we can move on to the.
Wait, you'll need to adopt the agenda.
Oh, I thought we did. I'm sorry. Can we get a motion to adopt the agenda?
so moved.
And second.
And all in favor? Aye.
I
Okay.
And okay, so and now we've already dealt public comment. So then next would be approval of minutes from March 5th. Did anybody have any additions, changes, anything that needs to be done to that, or are we good to go?
We're good to go. I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
All right.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
And then let's see, next up, we have the auditor update and review 2018-19 audit report.
Absolutely. Bob, would you like to introduce that, or should I just jump right on in?
Well, I think you can just jump right in.
All right, sounds good. So first of all, thank you for having me to speak to the results of the audit. Always happy to do that. I'd just like to preface this audit and this report before I jump into the little packet that summarizes the results, just by saying that this audit is coming to you as a committee quite a bit later than it normally does. And I just want to highlight that we are very much in support of the reason for that. District management and district finance management, led by Mr. Parker, made the determination very early on that their preference was to, in light of the 18-19 year and all the turnover that took place and all the difficulties experienced by the department, made the decision to get the numbers really locked and accurate rather than put out a report in line with the more normal time frame prior to the December 31st cutoff. They worked with the state chancellor's office on that. They very early communicated with our firm on that and really kept communication throughout the process to keep us informed, updated, and provide us our requests as soon as they were available, based in line with the district's new time frame. And as a result, although it is coming rather late relative to the normal time frame, this is a very clean report. And I think that that's a reflection on the efforts made by fiscal, made by the district, to ensure that in light of some really extraordinary changes and circumstances that hit during 1819, this report was rock solid. And so I just want to applaud the district for making that decision and for staying in touch with our firm throughout that process, so that there were no surprises and there was really no confusion throughout. And so at this point, we were able to conduct our procedures over all areas, over all 4 reports, and I'll speak to those results right now. So this summary dives into the areas that we always like to expand upon, going off of the 1819 audits, but I just would encourage any member of the committee to interrupt me at any point with any questions regarding our procedures or anything contained within the summary or our audit report. The first section of the summary on page 3 outlines some of the required procedures.
Ben, can I
Yes,
interrupt you for a
absolutely.
second?
Yes.
They're not seeing the summary. We just got that this afternoon. So do you want me to share that, Catherine, if I can, share the summary and I'll advance through it as you go along?
Yes, you may
if
share the
that's
screen.
possible.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
So I will,
Bob, do you know how to take control of your screen?
you cannot start screen sharing while the other participant is sharing. So stop
Oh, I
sharing,
have to
Catherine.
stop. So I will stop and you will start.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, give me control. Okay. Okay, so hopefully at this point, everybody can see CWDL audit results on the screen. Okay, yes. So Ben, you
Terrific.
say,
And then on page 3 of 8, just kind of diving into the meat of this summary, we list out the procedures performed. And these are going to be procedures that range from federal compliance procedures as specified by the Office of Management and Budget, state compliance procedures spelled out in the annual CDAM manual by the Chancellor's Office, and audit procedures as prescribed by GAAP, by GAAP and by governmental auditing standards. And so I'm very pleased to report to the committee, as a result of all those procedures, and then just rolling on to page 4 of that summary, that first and foremost, our opinion in our independent auditor's report is unmodified, which is the highest quality opinion that an auditor can provide, and is to say that the 1819 financial report and all the balances contained therein can absolutely be relied upon by the district, by this committee, and by all the district stakeholder entities. And furthermore, for the 1819 year, with respect to testing over controls and compliance, federal compliance, and state compliance, we note no exceptions, which is highly unusual. That is not something that we can say for practically all of the other 20 college districts that we work with throughout the state, and shows very well on district management and controls, not only over fiscal, but over compliance. And so in speaking to that, going on to page 5 of the summary, we see the prior year reportable audit finding, prior year noted because there were no current year exceptions noted for 1819. And so this prior year comment related to the timing of the submission of the annual 311 report. It was late by a little bit, which required a technical finding in the prior year audit. And we're able to show that status at the bottom of that prior year comment as implemented, because in the current year, while there were some changes made to the 311 between when it was submitted and when it was ultimately finalized, perfectly allowable for there to be changes, the original submission took place by the October 10th deadline. So that was a great thing to see. That enabled us to clear that prior year exception. And with all the federal and the state compliance procedures, we note no other exceptions for the 18-19 year. And now just going on to page 6 of the summary, we see the listing of all of those different scopes of work that were provided and performed during the 18-19 year. So within the district's report, we have the independent auditor's report. We have 3 additional reports toward the back of that report over controls and compliance over controls, state compliance and federal compliance, no exceptions noted. And then we also have the reports over Viticulture and Winery Technology Foundation and the district's Auxiliary Services Foundation, along with the related tax forms to be prepared and provided for each of those. On page 7 of the summary, we always like to provide updates of what's going to be coming in the accounting world and affecting the district in coming years. However, as we've discussed, I think even as recently as this interim, we don't expect that either of these pronouncements is going to have anywhere near the kind of impact that the pensions and the OPEB pronouncements have had on the district's balance sheet, and really not just Napa, but across the entire country. Just seismic levels of impact from those pronouncements. These concerning leases, fiduciary activities, much more minor. Fiduciary activities is the one that's going to have the sooner impact of the two. That's actually going to be something that we'll be working with the district on this year, really just concerning the standards around what fiduciary relationships of the district are considered blended versus non-blended component units, and just a little bit of clarification as to how those are being reported, more of a presentation item than anything else. And then leases, which will be implemented in the 2021 year, is going to be focusing on the capitalization of leases for anything from property to equipment that would have been expensed up until that point. And so that's going to be more than anything a job of really going out and identifying and inventorying all those leases that the district is currently taking part in, and then doing the accounting to determine the amounts that will be identified for capitalization and ultimately coming on as assets on the district's statement of net position. And so that's another area where, in anticipation of that change for 2021, we expect for the 19-20 year that we'll begin working with Mr. Parker and his team to identify those items and ensure that that's all ready for a smooth implementation in 2021. And then finally on page 8, as we always do, we just like to thank the committee and the board for the opportunity to continue to work with the district. And with that, I want to open for any questions any member of the committee may have on our procedures or any aspect of the 18-19 report.
It seems like everything was perfect, and so I'm very glad that not even credit card charges for miscellaneous are not clarified. Good job, Mr. Parker. You know, you're running a clean, tight ship, regardless of all the turmoil and turnover. Congratulations.
Definitely a high five.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, it seems like I recall that the one thing that we even had from last year's that needed to be cleared up, that 311, was a technical error anyway. So it was just because something
exactly right.
Not quite right or something. So
as much of a technicality as it gets, that was just a tiny timing difference between the technical deadline and when the information was submitted. Something that, frankly, the chancellor's office wasn't even concerned about, but they did prescribe that deadline. And so we did at that point encourage the district to ensure technical compliance with that deadline. And that's exactly what happened this year.
Great.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So are you sure it's not that we need to audit the auditors, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We love audits. We're more than willing.
What's wrong with you people?
Any talk of audits gets us all fired up.
Guess it's got to work for somebody.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Of course.
Well, I don't have any questions. And Pablo, did you have any questions?
No, I didn't.
All right. Well, then are we good to then get a motion from this committee to recommend is it approval or acceptance? I think it's acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah. So we want to get a motion from this committee to recommend acceptance of the 18-19 annual audit. And does this include the DOS and the viticulture ones, or are those a separate thing?
Those are separate, and those
Okay.
actually go to the individuals.
two.
So at the next DAS board meeting, we'll be
Okay.
reviewing the audit for DAS.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so you just need a motion to recommend acceptance of the 2018-19 annual audit report for the district. Can I get a motion for that?
Pablo?
So moved.
I second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's even more fun and remotely. Okay, so moving on. So then we have the review of the selection for the current year, and this is a new contract for to extend the I think we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we discussed this at the last Audit and Finance Committee meeting, but as you know, we're our current contract with CWDL ends with this fiscal year, the audit that you have just accepted. We did, however, reach out to CWDL to ask for the potential of a one-year agreement, or in effect, a one-year extension. And so they have provided what is attached here, what you've seen, is that engagement letter for the 2019-2020 audit, which would include auditing the district itself, as well as the District Auxiliary Services Foundation and the Viticulture and Winery Technology Foundation. The price is listed here, the dollar amount is listed here. It's a total of $45,839. That includes the fee for DAS, which is listed separately. VWT is rolled into, because it's such a small piece of the district, that's not called out separately, but DAS is called out separately in this. DAS, I believe, let me look at the contract quickly. So that $45,839 is $37,510 for the district, including VWT, and then $8,329 for the District Auxiliary Services Foundation. And so that $839, the reason it says here, the budget sources, general fund, unrestricted, and the DAS foundation budget, DAS pays for their audit, the general fund pays for the general district audit.
And was there any unexpected things that came up in the development of the contract?
No, it's a standard engagement letter. It calls out, if you look at the engagement letter, it calls out all of the things that the auditors will do, very similar to the summary that Ben just went through of what the auditors did for the current year, the 18-19, the audit that you just accepted. And so indicates all of the required supplemental information that will be a part of it. the standards that they will be applying, what they'll be looking at. So spells out everything that they will be doing.
Okay, so we just need to get a motion from this committee to recommend approval of the contract to the full board.
Yes.
Okay, can we get a motion to that effect from one of the two of you?
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, fantastic. And so it looks like that's all of our items. So we just have, when do we need to do this again?
So I would say, Ben, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay, so the next time you would be meeting with the committee would be to kick off, in effect, the 1920 audit, which would be, would that be a meeting in May, a meeting in June? What would you recommend?
Yeah, the funny thing is the field work, since we're fully working remotely, is actually probably going to start quite soon. So I would say May would make a lot of sense to have that kickoff and kind of provide that plan. And at that time, yeah, just check in with the committee about any questions or maybe any identified areas that they'd like for us to explore in greater detail.
Okay.
Why don't we plan for that?
Okay.
Do we anticipate any action that would need to be approved by the board in May? The full board?
I don't think so. I mean, the action that the full board will take, which will be at the April meeting, will be to, upon your recommendation, this committee's recommendation, hopefully approve the contract. And then after that, there wouldn't be anything that would be involved in the audit itself that would require full board approval.
Okay, I'm just wondering if we needed to try to squeeze it in before the next board meeting or if it really matters.
I
Doesn't
don't
sound.
think
More than anything, I think that would be an informational meeting, just kind of our opportunity to share the main things that we're focusing on, any new changes to the CDAM procedures that we're running through, just to be able to let you know kind of what we've got. And also to check in to see if there's any items the committee would like for us to be aware of or kind of drill into in particular. And that's something that certainly doesn't have to take place in the form of a committee meeting. Any member of the board is welcome to contact John or myself at any point throughout the year. But that's typically been the time we've just kind of had that little exchange. So I wouldn't think that any items would come out of that and require the attention of the full board.
Okay, so we'll just have Catherine then just coordinate something that works for everybody, and it doesn't sound like we need to worry about it really when, just in May. We're all going to be around as
We'll be
same
around
place.
for sure.
I will be on my couch probably.
Just stay safe and healthy between now and then.
Exactly.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. The only other thing that I was wondering about that we might want to put on a future agenda, or maybe this is just something that needs to also, maybe the whole board would be interested in this, just in regards to the whole COVID-19 thing. I am just wondering if there's going to be any impact at all on cash flow, or if we're going to be looking at having to use reserve funds. If we have any kind of clue as to what any fallout might be that would affect our bottom line.
Sure. So actually, Dr. Kraft and I had a conversation about this yesterday, and we'll be including in the cabinet updates at the board meeting next week some information about where we are, what we think. There are things that we know, and certainly a lot more things that we don't know, but where we are in terms of planning for next year's budget, closing out this year's budget, looking at projections for where we think we'll end up at the end of this year, evaluating the impact of the CARES funding. We should be getting about $2.1 million in CARES funding. Half of that is to be used for direct financial aid to students, but then the other half can be used to assist us because we are going to lose some revenue as a result. So to help make up for that, to help balance the budget, what impact we may see on property taxes, don't really anticipate a significant reduction in property tax revenue, but collections may be slower than originally anticipated. So we'll talk about all of those things at next week's board meeting, as just to provide an update to the full board.
Awesome. Well, thank you very
Great.
much.
If I could just say one more thing, and that is, Pablo, I just got your email. And so, yes, I will send Ben's summary out to all of the members of this committee, including Catherine. And then Catherine, I know you will need to upload this to Board Docs so that it is part of the public record.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Happy to do that.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Bob.
Great.
Okay, so I guess unless there's anybody else has anything fun to add, we can adjourn.
Well, I
Okay.
guess we're adjourned.
I guess we're good.
All right,
All right.
well, we'll see
All
you
right.
all next Thursday, if not before. I don't think